Yeah, boy.
Nice.
Are you sure about that?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and I am here with Allison, who just got back. She had to restart. Yeah, hello. Hello, can you hear me, Allison? Allison? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
Like the earbuds are trying to connect.
Oh my god. I can hear them. You know what the cure to this is? Prep. I know, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I was ready hours ago. Can you hear me? Hello. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna wait here for them. So anyway, look, while I got you guys while Allison and Jonathan are figuring out whatever the hell's going on over there on their end, I just wanted to tell you all that it is April 12th, and that is JoJo's birthday. So as you can see, JoJo is chewing on a bone.
Hello?
That is his birthday present. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, hello? 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 Hello?
Hello?
I know. Yes, hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Okay, good.
Oh my god. Yes, can you hear me?
All right.
Yes?
Okay.
All right.
Hello?
Oh my god.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hello?
Can you hear us? Yes? Hello?
Hello?
Yes? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Hello? All right.
Yes? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? I don't know what's going on Allison's end, but for some reason she was here. She was able to hear me fine, and then she said she had to restart, and then she left and came back, and now everything on her end is busted.
Hello?
And this is why we remain small. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, okay, good. I can hear you now.
What happened?
Oh, how does it sound, by the way? I just had
Fine.
this update.
Yeah, it sounds
And then
fine.
it sucked me into... It's okay. Does it sound any better than before?
Nope, sounds the same.
Okay.
It wasn't
Alright,
it wasn't bad before, so
Okay.
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 So we're live now because I didn't want to wait any longer. So yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
So I was
just-
saying hello, hello, hello.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
goodness.
You're
Wow,
doing it
wow.
on the live
Oh,
stream. Yep.
Sorry, guys. I was just dealing with a microphone update thing that happened very surprisingly.
Who updates a microphone? Who does that? Like, why?
I guess I do. I do.
I've never heard of this before.
And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. And then I did, and I was hoping that it would come, like there would be some sort of payoff at the end, but I guess there was none. It's just update for exactly the same thing that you had before.
To keep you dependent on their updates so that they continue to get paid.
Feel a little gypped, but anyway, yes, I'm here. Have you explained what we're talking about aside from...
No, all I said was I greeted everyone and I said that while waiting for you to come back on, I just wanted to point out that you might see JoJo. Well, you're not going to see him, but the audience can see JoJo on the camera, even though Lindsay is here, because we have given JoJo a big fat bone to gnaw on because it is his birthday today. So it is JoJo's.
Bones.
It is JoJo's birthday, and he turned 7. So
awesome.
Happy birthday, JoJo!
It's a well-seasoned dog.
Yeah, he's all right. He's still got that puppy energy. So yeah, if you guys want to put pets in the chat, or JoJo, or dog emojis, or whatever y'all do, money, you can send it through.
If you want, I could put a Scipio on too.
Well, I can't. It'll take me a moment to set it up, but yeah, we could do that too.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's of interest, but yeah. Before we do that, before we maybe add in a little extra doggo content for a double stuffed dog. Okay, that's bad. No, let's not say that. I just want to remind everyone we are doing our monthly fundraiser to make sure we can continue to bring you this content. And it's the spice of technical difficulties. And if you would like to help us out, that's at feedthebadger.com/support. Please do help us out. Every bit counts. And thank you to everyone who has supported so far, which would be the Great Indoors and Richard Beer. So
thank you
once again. Thank you. So once again, please go to feedthebadger.com/support. And if you would like to send us a message, and please do, because we haven't had a lot of super chows this month. You guys busy? That's probably because it's spring. Everybody's out doing spring stuff, you know. Walking their dog. I don't know. Walking their dog for 2 months, going and get cigarettes, whatever you do in the spring. Yeah. But anyway, please send us a message so we know that we're not crying out into the void in pain at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And you get the full benefit of not sending your message through YouTube's comment enhancement system. And if you're on Twitter, you actually can send us a message. I know it's Twitter doesn't really have a super chow system, or Exeter, or whatever you call it. Xer doesn't have a super chow system. X feels a little bare.
X? Yeah, I mean, I think X is a work in progress. I mean, it certainly does. It seems to be doing more than Twitter used to do when it was Twitter, but I mean, maybe X isn't trying to be like Rumble and YouTube, you know? So
yeah, maybe it's trying to be its own thing. Anyway, so there's no real option to send us a tip through Exeter, or however you say that. So you can go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you're watching us on Twitter. Exeter. I'm just gonna call it Twitter. Like everybody knows what we mean, right?
I just say
All
X,
right.
but sure.
Yeah, so it's the very best way to send us funds and the very best way to get a message to us, and we will prioritize those messages for reading out on air. All right, let's the topic today is Manosphere goodness. So, is the Manosphere dead? Are we the Manosphere now? Brian, like we just outlasted everyone?
Yeah.
Were we ever the Manosphere?
Well,
A Manosphere villain.
Do you want me to answer that? Like if we are the Manosphere or not? Or is this a rhetorical question for the audience?
Sure. Go ahead and answer that question if it inspires you, you know?
Well, I think that we are whether we want to be or not. Because I think that the problem is that, you know, like... It doesn't just come from people outside of the space that we're occupying. you know, people who don't know what that is, like people like, I don't know, like, you know, your typical kind of either, you know, I don't even want to say it, like political commentators or cultural commentators that don't know what the Manosphere is, don't know what the Red Pill is or whatever, and they're generally just responding to the most prominent voices. We've already seen it in the mainstream with people writing endless like pieces on, you know, the Manosphere and using Andrew Tate or Fresh and Fit or the whatever podcast as their, like, essentially this is the example we're using. But they, in every article, men's rights activists specifically are named as part of it. So whether we it doesn't matter that we can like point to the ways that we're different, because we are being lumped in. And I think that it's by design, either because people are low information and they're ignorant, or they don't want to be interested, or they find that there is some benefit to throwing us in with that lot. And so it doesn't just come from like people who don't know. It comes from within too. You get like, you know, and I mean, I know people are going to rage about this, but the truth is that like Sydney Watson, for example, she used to do men's marches in Australia. Like that was how we learned about her. And now, you know, she rails against the Manosphere or the Red Pill people as often as possible. And there's almost never like a consideration for maybe there are people like that are doing good stuff in the space. Like, you know, it always comes back to like the biggest voices. And even some of the people who watch us will, you know, bombard me with messages saying you have to denounce these people because they're making you look bad. Even though like I don't know them. I don't associate with them, like whoever it is, right?
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, like we don't, but
Andrew Tate.
But
we are not associated with him.
But it doesn't matter though, because we're gonna be. What I'm saying is that we can't distance ourselves from it. So instead, what we were gonna ask is that people, you know, like just try to your best to kind of promote the people that are doing the job well, in your opinion, right? Not like, oh, ask, because I mean, like, how many times like should we do a series of videos where we like take down Fresh and Fit and take down Andrew Tate? How many videos does it require? Is it a waste of our time to do that? Because in my opinion it is, because we could be like just doing what we're doing, and maybe, you know, people could just be like, yeah, I don't know why you're talking about those guys. You know, they're basically just PUAs on steroids. Why aren't you talking about?
The media selects who they want to talk about, and then suddenly we have
but then like the online
that they wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, the media, they're like, we're talking about like the BBC and the ABC and like, you know, the Canadian broadcasting, whatever, MSNBC. They're going to point people where they want the normies to go, because they want to be the authority. They're like, oh, you guys want to know what the Manosphere is? Oh, we'll tell you what the Manosphere is. You want to know what incels are? Oh, we'll tell you what incels are, right? And then they get to create the framing, and they point people in that direction, and they use whoever they can find to be the most, you know, easily sort of like easy to frame as toxic or harmful or misogynistic, and they make them into the poster boys, which, by the way, boosts their profile. Why are they so big? Because the media makes them big, because their content supports a broader narrative. They won't promote people like us or Janice Fiamengo, who's doing like amazing work, because Janice is just not, like, it wouldn't work on her, right? So they go after the guys that are like, you know, playing at being masculine, that smoke cigars in you know, in fucking saunas with like lots of women, and they say that's the Manosphere, right? So it's like out of our control. Like we can't, like, I'm not going to be able to match that image, but it fits them. But the worst part is, or the saddest part, I'll say the saddest part, is that there are people who should know better that still they fall into that frame, and they start operating in the paradigm the media created. Kind of like how most people operate in the paradigm the feminists created when they talk about patriarchy in the history or patriarchy in this other part of the world. They're doing the same thing. They're falling into the same traps, and they think that they're like intellectuals, their egos get invested. They can't back out and say, holy shit, I was wrong. So they just continue to double down on that. And that's what what we're experiencing now is You know, like, we're still doing the same work we've always done. I don't think the message has changed much. Maybe we've changed because it's been 10 years. And maybe like our, you know, some of our beliefs have moved a little bit here or there, but we still maintain.
I'm
go
convinced that the relationship between the sexes is at the foundation of society.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
I remember when I would say this and people would poo-poo it, but now I think people are realizing that I was right. You know, that this is a foundational issue, and that you cannot frame the relationship between the sexes in such a degrading, hateful way as we have the past 70 years with feminist allegation without having serious blowback. And this is what we're seeing is the serious blowback. I don't think that the red pillars as framed by the media would exist. Do you think they would exist if family law was fair, if men had financial abortions, if male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault actually got recognized? You know, this is a reaction to a society that regards men as being expendable and justifies that with a narrative that the society that regards that men are expendable treats them with privilege. Like, like, I remember reading recently this article. It was sent to us by one of our patrons. Thank you, Richard. It was an article on someone addressing the crisis of boys in UK schools. And they were saying that boys are shamed, like they're institutionally shamed. And it's leading to a rise of misogyny, and girls will be most affected. And I'm like, all right, what you're talking about is boys being shamed by all the authority figures in their lives, or most of them, or at least they're neutral or actively pushing this shame, like the White Ribbon campaign, which is essentially take responsibility for the sexual abuse and violence inflicted on girls and women by a minority. So you have to take responsibility for the bad behavior of a subset of men that really have no relationship to you, unless you're part of that subset. And we have pushed that on boys, which is a huge shaming narrative. We have allowed this situation to exist where every authority a boy ever meets considers herself justified to put him last, while saying, I'm putting you last because society puts you first. And then we push that on boys as well. So all of this shaming is resulting in boys not liking women and girls. Geez, I wonder where that's coming from. And the thing is that as long as people don't care about the initial harm they're doing to boys and men, and only care about the far minor fallout, like the response, it's like we're punching a boy in the face, and when he bleeds on the girl's fist, we complain about that. We call that misogyny. No, that's just a reaction. You know, or even if he shouts out in pain, that's just a reaction to someone else's action. And that action needs to be recognized as the proximal cause. It's a proximal, I don't know if that's the right word, the direct cause of the reaction. And we really struggle with that. And why did I get onto this? Oh yes, because if we actually had a place in our society for recognizing that men can be hurt, men and boys can be hurt, and protecting them from those harms, and they can be hurt by the women in their lives and protecting them from those harms, I don't think Andrew Tate's or Fresh and Fit's would have the traction that they have. They get big because they're trying to help men deal with a society that is utterly indifferent to them, to the point of actively malicious. And I'm afraid, I got into this Twitter exchange with someone who said, oh, girls have to deal with all kinds of stuff from blah, and I said, okay, point to me to the institutions who teach girls that they are responsible for the sexual and domestic violence against boys and men, where they sit a girl down and say, you better take responsibility for violence against men. And also point me to the institution that teaches girls, oh, you are responsible for oppressing men. And he was like, well, it's confidentiality. So I said, okay, point me to the campaigns, like the White Ribbon campaign for girls. And of course you can't. Because there isn't one. Because the overwhelming institutional pressure is to tell boys and men that they are worthless unless they are serving girls, that they don't have a right to their own internal experience. And these red pillars are just a reaction to that. What do you expect? They're trying to live in a world that apparently wants to turn men and boys into slaves. I know that sounds really, really hyperbolic. But what is it when you expect work from a class of people without being willing or regarding whatever they want in reciprocation for that work as to be entitlement? You look at a class of people and when they say, well, we want to work for X, which might be families, relationships, children that you get to keep, houses that you get to keep, and you call that entitlement. That is the attitude of a slave-owning society. That the society is entitled to a group of people's labor, regardless of whatever thing that they want for that labor. It's in fact them that's entitled to getting some kind of compensation for their labor. That once we're in that rhetoric where we think that men are entitled, when they say, well, this is why we participate in a society, for a reasonable chance at having a family and children and a job and things that we can keep. When we call men entitled for that, we're essentially saying that we're entitled to their labor. And what the hell is that? You tell me, everybody who thinks I'm being hyperbolic, you tell me what that is. You explain it. How a society feels like it's entitled to another group of people's labor. And if we got rid of all of that, if we actually had space for men's genuine experience of vulnerability and their needs, they wouldn't be trying to square this circle with people like Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was a long.
It's all right. I guess what we're gonna get at is what I think is happening is, on top of, again, the fact that the framing is set up to where our perspective, like specifically here at HBR and people that are similar to us, I think Paul is like pretty on the same page as us. Even some MGTOW content creators have talked about how, if we don't change the laws or if we don't do something about things at the legislative level, then there's not going to be any significant change. And there is a lot of rhetoric in those circles about like getting laid and how to game women and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that those things don't have their place, but what I'm saying is that what is happening is, I think, is that the people who have the most cringe takes, or at least the takes that can most easily be exploited by the elite, by the establishment, in terms of maintaining this framework of men are bad for women, right? In most cases, their content is being lifted up by the media and the algorithm. And I think that they have algorithms at work to do that. And the fact that our content does better on Twitter than anywhere else, despite Twitter's limitations, is kind of evidence of that. I'm not saying that Elon is our guy. I'm not saying that. So just stop typing now if that's what you're going to say. But what I'm saying is that the fact that he's not actively trying to suppress, Twitter's not actively trying to suppress us, and our message is reaching more people than YouTube and Twitch. And what else are we on? I know we're on Rumble, and Rumble's just kind of small, but I'd like if you guys were on Rumble. But the fact that
Okay. I want to ballpark this. Okay. So what I think, judging from what's happening with Twitter, and you can continue after this, but what I think what's happening with Twitter, with the, essentially, the algorithm is no longer on our back, right? I think that, honestly, Karen's content is very good, but I think she got in just before the algorithm.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Definitely before the adpocalypse, but that wasn't when it started. Yeah. So if you think about it, we might be equivalent to maybe not Karen's side, because I know that I am not as charming as Karen is, because she's very charming.
But we could have been closer to her size if the algorithm hadn't come down on us as hard as it did. And that's just judging from our growth on Twitter or Exeter, or whatever you ever want to call it. You know, so I mean, this is a serious thing. Like, this is something that, you know, it's just an uphill battle. And part of it is because nobody wants to listen to things that generate understanding. They want to listen to strategies of how to deal with the enemy. This is what I've noticed. And maybe what we're saying doesn't really generate understanding, because I definitely, I'm holding to this line. If we don't extricate ourselves out of the mess that vilifying the relationship between men and women has created, we're not going anywhere. Like, we're going to continue down this road until we do that hard right turn and start doing something different. Okay. All right. Sorry, I hijacked your point, but continue.
No, I'm just saying. So I guess what we're gonna get into maybe we should, what we're actually gonna talk about. Yeah. So do you want to start with Revenant, since we're already on the topic of the Manosphere being dead? You want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. Like, that's what we have up here. So one.
Yeah. So I have it up.
I was gonna show a Scipio, so maybe I'll do that while you're talking.
All right. So there's this guy on Twitter named Revenant, and there's something kind of interesting about this that I thought was worth sharing. But he made this post on Twitter, and like, you know, he's a good dude, so he's not our enemy at all. He used to watch our content. He said, we really lost something with the death of the Manosphere. The Manosphere was chiefly anti-feminist, deep diving into source material, critiquing literature, activism, policy frameworks, etc. Red pill POA stuff is mostly black guys getting mad about vulgar sexuality stuff. 10 years ago, Manosphere posters were talking about the Duluth model of domestic violence, the harms of no-fault divorce, the Kafkaesque ahistoricity of the feminist worldview. Now it's black guys whining out about OnlyFans thoughts. The Duluth model is completely insidious, by the way. I have scarcely heard of it even mentioned since 2014 or so. Notice how all of the language presumes that she is a victim. So he goes and explains like the Duluth model, and he's basically like trying to like draw some attention, right? He says, I'm not saying the turn is surprising, but the odds of these the olds of these cliches, the 30 to 40-year-olds need to making more of an effort to pass this knowledge on. Stardust is one of the only intelligent guys still around, and all he does is post black pill doomer content, which is true. And I said to him, some of us are still here. And I think that what it pointed to is that everything he's saying is true. Like, we've been talking about this stuff for 10 years, and we haven't stopped talking about it. Like, at every opportunity, like, I try to talk about, you know, domestic violence, divorce, child custody, false allegations, all the usual suspects, the Duluth model, you know, Title IX, whatever, right? And I don't think it's a case of the internet is easily distracted or it moves too fast or anything like that. I think that, like, this guy, so I messaged him, or he messaged me. He sent me a DM. He said, which one of you is this? Because it just says Honey Badger Arcade, so he doesn't know. And I told him who I was, and he said, and I said to him, my name is Brian. I'm a Honey Badger Radio. I'm the, if the Manosphere doesn't look the way you remember, it's likely not because it's changed. It's more likely because the algorithm is promoting certain content creators more than others. And it's not likely by accident. Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit types are much easier to dismiss than we are. So we remain small and they become huge because they can much more easily be made into the boogeyman. And not only that, but other red pill Manosphere guys, like your Anthony Dream Johnsons and other dudes, they can also benefit. That's why they also have big giant podcasts where they bring on OnlyFans thoughts and dress them down, and they get like tons of views and super chats, because even though they get loaded, the narrative wins ultimately. Like the narrative that the media wants to push. Oh, look, this is what the Manosphere is, right? And that's why DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, can invest, 6 figures into various organizations. We have to stop those guys. But so it's like this feedback loop of red pill. So, and I don't even know like if these red pill guys are real. Like Bex, who I'm gonna be having on the show, BX, who we had on the show before. She's coming on Monday, and she might have some mind blowing like some more tea, yes, about like some of these dudes being like glowies, which of course does not surprise me because I said it. I was like, how many of these guys are feds? Like some of this shit is so like out of nowhere, like, you know, it seems artificial. And you have to wonder, right? What were we gonna say? Do I wonder what? Do you remember what?
Was there any time, like I remember there was a time when I was so innocent, I would have been like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, where you would have thought, oh, that's just conspiratorial nonsense. The feds? Why would they come into Red Pill Reddit? Yeah, why would they have an interest in the Manosphere?
Oh my god damn.
I mean, they're coming after fucking people playing Roblox online. Like, why wouldn't they come for the Manosphere?
I'm gonna come so freaking jaded, I think.
No, I think that it's just the truth. I don't think it's. I think it's good. Like, I
honestly think I don't think anybody's gonna argue with that anymore. Like, if we say, yeah, there's fed plants and they plant like red pill people to make
or at
it
least
seem like this is the content,
right, right.
Or the reason why we don't get big is actually we are being targeted by the algorithm and by alphabet agencies. I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, you're crazy anymore. Because receipts.
No, I think anywhere that in particular men congregate online, no matter what it is, it could just be a bodybuilding forum. You know, there will be feds there. I promise you. Like they're monitoring men specifically, no matter where they are. It could be like fucking guys teaching each other bowling techniques, and there'll be feds in there. Yep, saying
bowling team of 4 men.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
Eventually, the feds will literally be services for men.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just be like, oh, the men's shelter, all of the staff are feds. You know, the men's helpline, all the staff are feds. And then finally, we'll actually have government services because it'll be all staffed by feds trying to infiltrate and make sure, I don't know. I find that hilarious.
Well, I think it is funny because, I mean, and I...
Wait.
Okay.
Okay, feds, guys who are listening, I think it's a great idea for you guys to start constructing men's domestic violence shelters and helplines. Now you have to remember that you have to stay in character the entire time, of course. So you have to offer them legitimate non-feminist help. But I think this would be a great way for you to prevent terrorism. Oh shit, I said the word. Furrinism. It would be a great way for you to prevent furries. Okay? I think that would be a great way for you guys to set up genuine men's help.
There are definitely feds in the furry communities. I'm sure of it. Sure of it. It's, you know, it's probably there's probably more feds than furries, honestly. But I wouldn't be surprised. There was like a story. I remember a story where a bunch of guys where there was like this fed op, and none of the almost every man involved in the op was a fed, and they weren't aware of each other, and so they were all like, I'm serious. I'm pretty sure it was somebody in the chat probably remembers that. I remember hearing about that from some time ago. Anyway, so I said this to Revenant, right? And he said completely agree. They are a real problem because they use the serious work you guys did and springboarded off of it to run a grift. And I said, not much we can do about it except continue to create content and hope that more people will talk with us. And then he said, I used to listen to your stuff and I didn't know you guys were still around. And he hasn't answered, but I mean, what I wanted to ask him is, okay, so like, if you used to watch us, then why, like, have you, no, I know we never stopped making content, but what I think happened is that people were being unsubscribed, unfollowed from our account, along with a lot of other ones, because we know this has happened to Dr. Randercam. We know this happens all over. I know plenty of guys.
Like,
yeah. So like that's the
Jonathan from my channels. Like, it's ridiculous. And he's like, why am I no longer receiving your content? And then he looked into it and he'd been upset. My husband had been unsubbed from my channels.
Exactly. So I think that I told him, and if you're listening, because I sent him a message saying we're doing this stream, Revenant, if you're watching this, first of all, hello and thank you for the message. But did you unsubscribe, or were you unsubscribed by the algorithm? Because I think that there was, I mean, this is why we stopped putting content on the main channel, because there was this weird fishy stuff going on. And that's why, by the way, I'm trying to promote Rumble and also our Twitter, because apparently that does the best. What was that?
Yeah, what happened with the main channel is, well, okay, so our channels have been subject to a lot of strikes. Once we got a strike for showing a man being groped by a woman in public on his, like, over the clothing, to discuss the issues of people not caring about men being sexually assaulted. And we got a hit for that because you aren't supposed to show people being sexually assaulted in a titillating manner. And I'm like, what? And then we got other hits for other stuff that was all erroneous. And it nearly knocked out our Badger live streams channel. But what ended up happening is, and we also got an erroneous copyright strike from a creator, a trans woman creator who got upset at some response.
Tina.
Yes.
Tina? Was it Tina?
So
No, wait. When we had her on for a fireside chat? Or that person?
No, that wasn't.
Oh, it was a different trans
It had
person.
nothing to do with Tina. Okay.
All right.
I actually made a whole bunch of stuff private and bunkered down to weather that storm, because it all happened within like a month. So it was, I don't know if it was targeted, but it's a little suspicious if everything's happening within a couple weeks of each other, and so we bunkered down on the main channel, and I've kept the main channel, and I occasionally put content on it. I'm going to try to do more, but part of the reason why I stepped back is I'm focusing on my writing, because I think storytelling is really where more of the change in the social attitudes is going to come from. But I keep it around and I keep putting occasional content on it because I feel like it functions as like an icebreaker. So if anything comes at us, it'll come at us through this larger channel, because they'll probably see it as the bigger threat. And that might give us time to bunker down again. I know this sounds crazy, guys, but I've been having to play the defensive game for like 8 years now. And everything that I do is predicated on defense. And speaking of defense, I really want to give a shout out to all of our supporters, because the reason why we continue to be here after 10 years, the reason why we may be one of the few men's issues content creators, like genuine men's issues content creators that are still going after 10 years, is because of you guys supporting us. Like, the thing is that as much as I want to make sure that I would still have this voice out there, you get into the movement of life and it gets more and more difficult to be able to do it. But the fact that you have funded our operation has meant we have been able to work at this for 10 years and not disappear, even though YouTube really wants us to. And probably the alphabet agencies really want us to.
Sure.
But we are still here because of you.
Yeah, I think that's why this content, and look, I'm not boasting. I'm saying, like, there's plenty of people that are doing really good stuff, like Paul and Janice, like I've said, people like Teal Deer, who's basically just moved to Rumble, Coltane. There's lots of guys making good content. They're just not on YouTube. And I would ask, remember, there were guys that we used to see all the time. I remember, is it Shapin? That was his name? Or Justicar? Or yeah, like there are plenty of people who used to do stuff. Some of them we lost, like angry, yeah, Mikaru. Yeah, I loved Mikaru's stuff. It was so good.
Oh yeah, it was
Angry Harry. The man woman myth. These guys were great, but like, and Mike Buchanan, but like I think that like I can't do anything about the stuff that the algorithm promotes, and I think it is a lot of it is artificial promotion, but it also sort of like is a self-perpetuating machine, because if I could understand the temptation if I was like Fresh and Fit or Brian from the Whatever podcast, not this Brian, but that Brian. and I saw that, wow, you know, I'm getting millions of views, I'm getting lots of money, I'm gonna keep doing this, I'm gonna keep doing this. And then all the other people, they feed into it, you know, like all of the guys in the Daily Wire make appearances on the whatever podcast because it promotes their channel. And so they're growing off of each other, and like there was this whole kerfuffle with this OnlyFans girl that, you know, was like super degenerate on the show, and then she's like turned to Christ, and everyone's having a big debate about whether or not it's legitimate, and it's all it is like good for them because the algorithm keeps them like that conversation kind of perpetually, you know, like a perpetual machine going and going, like this Fresh and Fit thing where he like knocked up some stripper and now everybody's having a talk about that, you know, and I mean, I just don't see the value in talking about that aside from what is it that normal men can learn from it, you know, like that's why I was interested in the Crowder situation, for example, not because I wanted to like piggyback on the drama, because I didn't care about the drama. I'm looking at it more like, okay, men, it doesn't matter if you do everything right, if you save yourself and all of this other stuff, you can still be taken to the cleaners, which means we have to have a talk about the laws, we have to have a talk about divorce and what it means, right? We can't really you know, sort of pinpoint whether or not a woman is going to be loyal or not, all because we don't know. Like, some women are going to, despite everything, they're going to be good women, and some women, despite everything, are going to be awful women. But what we need to look at is be able to talk about what are the incentives in place that move the needle on that, and like, are they fair? Should we be talking about that? Like, and this is very difficult to do because the temptation to just like piggyback off of it, go for the gossip is you know, very strong. I mean, if you like are interested in growing, and I think that's the thing. Like, I would like to be able to be done and just like do so, like quietly go back to like living in regular society or doing something else. I'd like that, but I can't. I'm kind of like invested now, so I just have to like try to see this through. Well, I want to.
It was a shit start. This story.
I mean,
started in a shitty way, but now you're invested.
Yeah, I want to see it through, and like you know, it would be great if like we could at least. I wouldn't expect that any of this to be fixed in my lifetime, but it would be great to see that we at least got the ball rolling towards a positive direction. So, but I do think I do think that there we have had I think we've had an impact. I mean, like, it doesn't show up. Obviously, it's not directly with us, but there are people, again, they are approved, you know, in one way or another by the algorithm. Like, people like I already mentioned, the guys that, you know, you can call them grifters or whatever, but like the guys that use the talking points of people who came before them, like Kevin Samuels or whatever, or they heard it around here. I mean, I'm sure that if they know about the Duluth model and they know about, you know, some of the stuff that Karen's talked about, they're just using that, you know, going forward. I know Crowder had Karen on his show multiple times. He's not necessarily like a, you know, Manosphere guy, but he's certainly like talking around that. And then other people, you know, it's sort of like how many degrees of separation, right? But then there's also, what was I gonna say? There is another side to it too that's rubbing off in its own way. There's like I can't remember, I'm sorry, but I'm just saying there are people who benefit, and it just keeps perpetuating itself, and you know, I would like to see things. Oh yeah, but I'm saying it's having an effect. Like, you know, I'm hearing a lot of these talking points coming from somewhere else, and I'm sure that they originated, like, where they first heard it comes back closer to where we are. I wouldn't say it's us, but closer. You know, maybe they saw a man-woman myth video somewhere, maybe they saw an Angry Harry blog somewhere, or whatever, or someone else read it, you know, read something on A Voice for Men or NCFM.
I will say what I think is exclusive to us is having, well, at least to me, is having stuck to my guns about the foundation of all of this being the issues between men and women, because we get distracted not just by the gossip but also by the political divisions, and it's like, no, this comes down to that relationship. I mean, where else does a society come from? These elaborate structures don't form unless they facilitate the process of reproduction. And that means they tie into the relationship between the male and the female of the species. And if that relationship deteriorates, then you see a general deterioration of the entire society. And, you know, it may be that there are particular interests who are invested in that. Maybe they are, you know, maybe they're communist, maybe they're corporatist, maybe they're the Fed. No offense, you know, but
No offense to the Fed.
Yeah, no offense, you know. But their ultimate weapon is the destruction of the relationship between the sexes, and we need to fix that, and we need to focus on fixing that. And most people don't want to approach that. I see all of this political stuff and the gossip as deflections, because people don't want to question something fundamental about themselves, which is how they've structured their identities. It takes a rare bird to be able to tolerate something like that. And what's interesting is that when I've been, of course, learning how to write or improve my writing, and I read books. And recently I read a book. I will get you the title later because it's not coming to me off the top of my head. But they said, this particular guide to storytelling said, start the story when your main character encounters something that questions their identity, that puts their fundamental identity into question. So, for example, if you have a character that thinks of herself as being the most effective secretary, have her deal with the process of her office being computerized and her not knowing how to use computers, because that actually hits right at her identity as an effective secretary. Now she no longer can have that without gaining skills that she doesn't have, which means in the interim that she has to acknowledge that she's not effective. And so what you do is and then the character has to make a plan. How are they going to deal with this question of their fundamental identity, the question posed, the threat posed to their fundamental identity? And that's the story. Okay, well, what we talk about here challenges people's fundamental identity. We are now generations into believing that men oppress women. People have formed their identities on that as men and as women. For some reason, but for men, the identity that they form around it is that they're the one good man. The one good man who deserves the women, or a woman, who has satisfied the woman, or a woman, or the one good man who is he's the only one who cares about women. That is the investment. That is the fundamental identity that they have derived from that structure. And then for women, I think a lot of women believe that if they don't keep an eye on men, that somehow men are going to jump out of a bush with a net and drag them off to the sandwich mines. So they need this sense of threat, this constant sense of threat, so they can maintain eternal vigilance over the men in their lives. And they actually have constructed an identity around this constant sense of threat. It's like a inborn anxiety disorder. And also constructed an identity over how being seen as morally better than men, because that's really what it comes down to. Feminism makes women seem or be perceived as morally better than men. Men are the rapists. Men are the abusers. Men are the oppressors. Men are the hateful gender. Men are the ones who are lesser morally than women, which means that women can always be right, at least morally. And that's another thing that they center their identity around. And when you're coming around, when you're trucking around, which is what I found over and over and over again, and you're like, hey, that doesn't seem to be really founded logically, people react very badly because you are threatening something fundamental to who they think they are. I mean, and we're always going to be dealing with the headwinds that are forcing us back against that. Like there's always going to be strong headwinds to that. And then you add on the algorithm apparently making us invisible to people so that they think that the manosphere, the quote unquote manosphere, is dead. I think what he's actually specifically referring to is the coalition of MGTOW and not coalition, but sort of loose arrangement of MGTOW and men's issues advocates and like the original PUAs who weren't as crazy. Can you?
I don't think that I'm here, but you were just going on. I don't think the PUAs have changed much. I think that, like I said, okay, so if we break down the Manosphere into 3 parts, let's just keep it simple and leave out the incels, because I don't think that's a little bit different. So we just break it down to the PUAs, the MRAs, and the MGTOW. The PUAs haven't changed much, but they have grown, and I think the reason is because, again, the establishment can see that they're the easiest ones to demonize. Remember, when we started doing this, we had to constantly explain to people that we were not PUAs because they were trying to like label us with the PUA, like, I don't know, with the stink of the PUA, the black spot, as it were, and it just wasn't true. And I think it's because they're the easiest ones. But even then, and I say this in defense of PUAs in general, like, there's nothing really wrong with wanting to like be, learn how to get along well enough with women that you can get something out of it. I mean, I don't mean just sex. I think that a lot of the times most men are not just doing it for the sex, but some guys, like these, fresh and fit types and stuff, they boast about their conquests because they think that it like lends them more legitimacy so that they can sell more books and make more money. So
based on what I've heard, is it Fresh? Fresh is a moron.
They're neither of them are super smart, no. But the thing is that
I think he needs his IQ tested, because I'm pretty sure it's sub 100. Sorry,
well,
like
why would you say that? Like, what?
Well, because according to the story that I heard, he's having sex with women, multiple, without any kind of protection. And yes, I know that men don't have as many options, but that's different than simply like not doing anything, right? And also, apparently, she was giving the baby rabies signs. So
I don't know about any of that, but I mean, without getting swept up in the drama, he did.
Maybe there's additional information I don't know.
Look, I don't know the details. All I know is he knocked up a girl. Apparently, that's like a big deal because he was trying to get her to get an abortion, according to some leaked audio, and now he's the bad guy. And she was claiming that she couldn't do it because of her religion, which I thought was weird, because I was like, yeah, but you're like an escort. Like, what religion allows for that? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Now, again, I'm not taking sides. I think it's a mess. I think that there's a lesson for men to learn from this, which is, don't be that guy. Don't do what he's doing. Well, it might even, I mean, for all we know, like, maybe you shouldn't even like be messing around with women at all. Like, not like that, because like, even if you use protection, it's not a guarantee.
That's true.
So,
yeah, but I mean, be careful. Use your own condoms. Make sure that you have them on your person at all times. Don't become an idiot like this.
Yeah.
And I fully agree that men should have financial abortions, which would probably have made her think twice before sleeping with him in this circumstance, without a legally binding contract indicating that they would raise any child that resulted from the union. What does that sound like? Jesus. Oh man. But I mean, like, I think what he did was dumb, but at the same time, if we're going to allow women to be dumb, we need to allow men to be dumb, as far as I'm concerned. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I just thought you might have disappeared.
No, look, Jojo left, so I had to let him out, and Skip left too. So they both left.
No,
sad. No, that's it. That was it. I just wanted to like, talk about that a little bit. I mean, I just want to say to Revenant again,
we're not dead.
We're still here. I think that what we would like is maybe, I don't know, like, try to send people our way. I don't know what else to tell you. I asked you to share the video because sharing is caring at the end of every stream, because I mean, it would be helpful if we could reach more people, and I know that this isn't like as clean as I would like it, and I lament that every day. but I still think that the message matters. So
clean. You mean
well,
like clean in terms of the
no, I mean like the quality of the, I don't know, like, we're really far apart. We're not like, It's not like a setup like these popular podcasts have.
I just
But
dropped
they have
my
like
microphone on the floor, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of.
Did you actually hear that, or? Were you
I heard
scared?
something. It wasn't terrible for me. But,
Okay,
and I am
sorry,
wearing
guys,
headphones.
Just my flailing caused some issues. I need to like get some. No, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say I need to get some rope and bind my. No, let's not go there.
All right. Well, I got a super chow that I didn't read, so I should read it really quick,
good.
and then we'll talk about the next thing. So Zeranx gave us $5, and this was around 6:30, so about half an hour ago. And he says that's why I've advocated that we build on what they're correct about, state that, and keep going. Wanting us to distance ourselves is part of the divide and conquer tactic that they're using. I've lambasted Fresh because of his idiocy, despite their show giving out good information and providing foundations to build on. I think the same problem seen in the political realm exists in the Manosphere. Why is Natty appearing to get cozy with feminists now? Because we or whomever take our distaste with one or a few people, and we erode our own ground. Every time that happens, we have Date Psych, Brittany Venti, Abba and Preach, and whoever else spoiling what actually may benefit men. To borrow a line from Baldur's Gate 3, paraphrase, courage doesn't show up in the results of the battle, but within the fight. Thank you, Zeranx. Yes, it's 100% true. Like, I'm all for, look, I've seen it myself. I saw LP, who I'm, I like him. He's a hypocrite. He used to be an MRA, and he made a whole video about using the fresh and fit thing, that whole incident as like the launching point to just shit all over the entire Manosphere, men's rights activists included. And I was like, well, that's not useful. Like, I mean, and I'm like, well, what kind of world do you want to live in? So like some of these people, they have like they got like the feminist perspective where we shouldn't exist because we're like dangerous to women or whatever it is, right? We hate women, we want to oppress women, chain them to the stove, whatever, all the bullshit. And this is like the larger narrative. This is like the overwhelming, ubiquitous narrative that if I go to a stranger on the street and I say, have you ever heard of a men's rights activist? If they've even heard of them, they've heard negative things, most likely. Like that's usually how it goes, right? And I have to do damage control on that. And then on the other side, you got like people who, used to be just like us or they had their own like demons in their history. And then they like become, they find God or whatever. And then all of a sudden now everybody else is inferior and they're being judgmental and shit. And I'm like, but you're not fixing anything. Like you're basically just criticizing people. And then you're acting like, oh, well, if only you were like me, then everything will be great. And it's like, yeah, but we're not like you because that's not how the world works. This is not what you want it to be. This is what it is. We have to deal with what is. And you have to be what you have to do. And I'm kind of like, I guess, piggybacking off of Zeranx. You have to acknowledge what is good that people are doing. You have to acknowledge that, and then you have to ask for more of that. And whatever needs correcting, you can give the caveats, right? But like I don't know what these guys are creating. All I know is what I want to do, and I don't have the time to like to make sure that everybody else knows that I'm not like those people, because it doesn't matter and it's a waste of time and energy.
Yeah, so what do you prioritize? Do you prioritize talking about the actual issues, or does distancing yourself from the people who've been lumped in with you because specifically they want to stop you from talking about the actual issues?
Yeah.
Like, they want you to spend your time defending yourself against these allegations, against these people who probably are being lumped in with people who probably have no interest in your issues in the first place. But here's the thing is, when you encourage what you want, you get more of it. And let's say you got 50-50. 50% bad, 50% good. And you encourage the good. Gradually, you're going to grow the good, to be 60%, 40%, 30%, 20%. Maybe you'll get it to like 95% good. And then you're good. Then it's mostly good. It's overwhelmingly good. And this is not what I'm seeing. Like the media, for example, is choosing to grow the worst because they become a great example of why the media is needed and all of these initiatives are needed. Like, there's more intervention now with boys in the UK schools because of Andrew Tate than there was before. Because now,
they make him more famous, and they make him more rich, so he makes more content, and so it continues. And then every time anything comes up related to this, that's the guy they go to, and even the people who know who we are like, why don't you say something about that? It's like, but why? Like, I mean, I care about simple things like due process, but I'm not gonna. Why would I waste my time and energy? Yeah, like here's
the thing, like
we got other things to deal with.
Answer to this. Why do we have to answer to Andrew Tate and Andrew Tate's platform more than the people who built it for them? That would be the mainstream media. Okay? They were the ones who created that freaking monster and choose to focus on it. If you want to call it a monster, whatever it is. Like, let's move on. Is there anything more you wanted from this tweet? Or
no, that's it. We should move on to the next thing. So I got a super chat.
Right.
Yeah, I got a super chat from Albert Nader Retro, gives us $2 Canadian and says, I do the best I can to get the word out about HBR. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I appreciate it, but I'm just saying, like, I think the algorithm is against us, especially on YouTube. So
yeah, we got multiple things against us. One, people don't want to focus on these issues because they've based fundamental aspects of their identity on them. I had a run-in with that recently, I think. And to we've also based fundamental aspects of our society on it, on people having these attitudes. So it's a big ask. I recognize it's a big ask for people to actually care about this stuff. So thank you everybody who's listening for caring about this stuff. All right. So should we talk about how we're right?
So I want to give a shout out to, so we're going to give a shout out to Packer Girl. Packer Girl is involved with Gamergate too. She mostly talked about, on her channel, it's kind of small, but she talks about localization because she's like the biggest weeb I've ever seen, but she reads manga and shit. And that's kind of like how she got involved with this, because localization, which is essentially isn't it the practice of like translating Japanese language content or like foreign language content into like English, specifically English localization. And when they do that, and this is like a thing that's been going on for a long time, the people involved in the translations, well, they bring their feminist intersectional politics into it, and they make changes to the translations, and they claim it's under this idea that, you know, like, oh, well, there's cultural differences and you wouldn't get the context, blah blah blah. But some people do it well. They often explain the context, especially when it comes to like Japanese stuff. If you're like really into anime, then inevitably you're going to become interested in Japanese culture because you're going to see so much of it, right? And you're going to be like, well, why do they have the gardens like that? Why is the food like that? Whatever, right? So anyway, Packer Girl had this thread that I thought was really interesting, where she is talking about this Ubisoft lead writer. So Ubisoft is like a super pause company, it always has been. And she writes, as part of their long thread on writing villains, Ubisoft's lead writer Sarah Ariano had this to say about men's rights activists. So we're making it into the video games, guys. we're in video games now. Of course, when she says men's rights activists, who knows what she really means? So let's look at this tweet, I guess. So this is Sarah Ariano. And she says, in real life, when a man attacks a woman in rage, remember that he feels victimized by her. He sincerely believes that he is in danger, and he's acting in self-defense. Consider this when observing men's rights activists, alpha male military-style training camps, high-soaked BJJ black belts, preaching an end to feminism. They're terrified of people half their size with half their rights. Consider that half my country literally believes that killing the other half will keep them safe. Villains don't wake up, crack their knuckles, cackle with glee, and get to work hurting others. They wake up scared and put all of their energy into protecting themselves. What country does she live in?
Okay, so apparently we want to kill all men. Whoops, sorry. Little Freudian slip.
Oh, oops.
The most common phrase that I've heard everywhere is kill all men, not kill all women. You know,
yep.
I don't see the worst that the manosphere seems to want to do to women is to actually have sex with them, or a relationship with them, or not. Like, very rare do you see anyone in the quote unquote manosphere, especially not men's rights activists, saying, you know, this is so absurd. Why do we even have to defend against it?
It's just, I mean, I don't know, like, what to
Also,
say
I want
other
to point
than...
out that the tweet
Yeah.
that I'm seeing is not that one. It's still the Revenant one.
Oh, why am I not... Wait a minute. What? Are you sure? Why is it sharing... Let me go back and share it again. Okay, are you seeing it now? You should see it. Are you seeing it?
No. Damn
What?
it. I don't know.
No, I'm displaying it. It's showing here.
Okay,
All right, here,
fine.
yeah, just take my word for it, okay?
take
Might be a glitch on your problem, but I am sharing it. Okay. Xerax gives us $5 super chat and says, I'm surprised to see Packer Girl involved. I knew about her years ago because Tommy Sotomayor had her on his show semi-regularly. Well, that's weird. I only know about her from Gamergate too, so... And it's weird too because I've been like trying to reach Tommy Sotomayor to get him on. He was supposed to do it like a while back, but he's not the most reliable guy unless you're really big. He's like another one of these people that you have to be like big enough to get his attention, and we're just not. But yeah, I'm also trying to get Packer Girl on. So if you guys have like the inside scoop, I like her because she does a lot of good work, and she's kind of like, you know, Savvy, who we had on the show like last week, who's also doing good work too. But okay, anyway. So let me see. I'll read the rest of the thread here that she also shares. Holy crap, this is like a big image. So maybe if I share this, you'll see it. Here we go. All right, can you see this thing I'm sharing? Allison, are you there? You're muted. You're there.
No, still Revenant.
Oh, weird. Okay, well, I don't know why I should be sharing.
All
right, so
this is technical difficulties that only impacts me. I don't matter.
yeah, apparently. Everybody else can see it. So Sarah Aliano goes on and she says, when writing villains, remember that they all think they're victims. They're never the brain announcing that tonight he will try to take over the world. They are aggrieved people who sincerely believe they are creating justice. Wow, this is so much projection. You know, if you just listen to this, she's telling you exactly what she thinks. Like, she's telling you about herself because these people always project. And she was
having this
quote
really interesting exchange. Like, it was with the guy who I was talking to about, well, show me the receipts. Where are the initiatives that tell girls that they're responsible for oppressing men and that they need to take responsibility for all?
I'll send you the link so you can look at it on Twitter instead if it's not working.
Yeah, that's fine. But I was talking to this guy, and what he did, I said, somebody else talked about how it's women's choices that lead them to be less represented in STEM. And I mentioned the gender equality paradox, which is the more freedoms women have, the more they choose not to go into the maths and sciences. Sciences. And he dismissed my evidence while he said, you dismiss evidence. And I'm like, seriously? Okay, you're gonna do exactly as you do what you accuse me of doing. You are gonna accuse me of doing it.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
How do you deal with a mentality like that? Like, the instant he does something he doesn't like about himself, he puts it on you. It's like, okay. All right, then.
All right. So she was responding, Sarah Ariano, to someone named Monique Botha, is actually they, them. And that person is saying, there was a post on our relationships and it's living rent free in my head. Some woman who loves plants was having a bad run of it with some of her most prized plants dying and couldn't figure out why. And it was slowly crushing her, and it turns out her husband was poisoning them. Now, I don't know the context of that. But apparently that means he hated the plants and hated his wife and killed her plants on purpose.
No, you're not. You're thinking too small, dude. You're thinking too small. That means that all men are responsible for this woman's plants dying.
Oh, yes, that's right. Of course.
And anybody who says, hey, maybe all men aren't responsible for the actions of this one man, is a men's rights activist who's saying that because they hate women and want to kill half the human race.
Of course, because that's what villains do.
Yeah,
like to take
you know what?
taking the Thor quote. That's what heroes
Like,
do, and inverting it.
There's no logic behind it. All it is they have a weapon, and when you piss them off, they draw it and point it at you and say, "Yeah, what, punk? You want to do something, punk?" That's all they're doing. Like this entire allegation. Oh, they want to kill half the human. Okay, no, I'm really lazy. I don't even want to kill an ant. And I don't even like killing. I mean, I pause before I swat a goddamn mosquito, and I have to think about the ethics. Well, they spread disease, so I can't, or a fly. Well, you can't have a whole bunch of them in your house. They'll spread shit, right? But I still have to. I'm not gonna kill myself, or I don't know, do some kind of murder suicide, kill all the women in the world, and then myself. Like what? No, like this is absurd, but it still works on people. Because
it does.
People are that afraid of violence against women. That's what they did. They've just constructed a weapon to use against everyone, and they keep using it over and over again. And everybody goes up to the gun woman, and they're like, "Well, that's illogical. Look, yeah, you're against property rights. You're against parents' rights. You're okay. I'm gonna do this. Don't get too offended. You're being communist, and it's illogical. Everything you're saying is illogical. It just doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't freaking matter. She's got the gun. At the end of the day, she wins. It doesn't matter how illogical, stupid, or ridiculous, or outrageous, or abusive she is. She's the one with the gun. And until you take the gun away, she'll be the one with the gun, and she's the one who sets the rules. And that's what she's doing. She's just like, yeah, I don't like these people. And if you disagree, well, I got a gun. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
All right. So Sarah Ariano, I'm just gonna read this whole clip, this whole thread here, because I think it basically, I mean, just listen to it and then think, like, who is she really talking about? Thinking this way creates a new dynamic between characters and a richer interpretation of the human experience. The villain's victims stay because they've been fed the villain's grievance. Then they become villains themselves. Think Carmela Soprano. Remember also that the hardest thing to do is admit wrongdoing. People will go any length to avoid it. Any length. Wrongdoing leads to banishment from the group down to the marrow of our bones. We as humans, pack animals, are terrified of banishment. I'm rereading The Shining after 20 years away. It's so terrifying. Far more so than the film, because it's about how addiction and victimhood talks to you, how it lies, how we justify villainy to ourselves, how many chances are given to change course, and how we don't. What Stephen King must have gone through to write that story, I can't imagine. Well, Stephen King is a fucking nut job. To be great storytellers, we have to tell the truth to ourselves about ourselves. So I think that's the thread. Let's see. Yeah, that's basically the thread. So who is she talking about in that thread? Just saying.
Storytellers. You have to be, you have to be self-aware, although obviously there's plenty of lunatics that become writers. You have to tell the truth to yourself, Sarah Aurelio. Well, I mean, she presumes that it's true that men want to oppress women and that it's not actually toxic shaming to perpetuate this everywhere. It's not actually something that's causing significant harm to perpetuate, because that's her victim narrative, and it justifies all of the ways that she doesn't care about and victimizes others, including condemning people who are interested in the human rights of men, or the legal rights of men, whatever you want to call it. People who are interested in creating a society that actually cares about the experience of men in it and doesn't just treat them as expendable. Yeah, that's what she thinks about. That's automatic.
Yep.
Like, not okay, well, I've seen men's rights activists do this, I've seen men's rights activists do that. I don't know where she'd see any of this stuff. Like, yeah, I have animus towards feminists. That's because I have seen them for years shut down, remove, and destroy services for vulnerable men. You know,
Mm-hmm.
literally they put the ideology of victimhood, of female victimhood, even over female victims. And it's just, at this point, I'm like, yeah, is there anything good about this? Because all I've ever seen is bad, and I'm not interested in lying about that anymore. Just to maintain an identity that I never had. I don't think I ever, or at least not to a great degree, created an identity over being victimized by men. Right? So it was very easy for me to challenge all the nonsense that goes into constructing that. And of course, I'm a weird autist, so the social censure doesn't really bug me that much either, because I'm a weird autist. I much prefer the truth. But so this is like you were saying, Brian, this is entirely projection.
Oh yeah.
She's literally doing what she says other people are doing. And it's not just projection, it's also scapegoating.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's ritually pressing her sins onto the scapegoat and then slaughtering it. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Pushing it out as not her part of herself.
Yep.
I don't do this. Yeah. Well, good lord.
So I got another super chat from Master Rogue. Thank you, Master Rogue. He says, remember that one article that described patriarchy and had citation needed next to it? Good times for $5. Thank you, Master Rogue. Appreciate it. Those were the days. Yes. Boy, the way Glenn Miller played. Okay. So that's the thread. That's Ubisoft today. Or it has been for a while, let's be real. They've been pretty woke for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that there's a little bit of crossover, though, here. Or at least we're being mentioned. Maybe the Gamergaters might take note of this and their ears will perk up. Oh. The people that were first in the chasm are being mentioned.
Yeah, I think they are this time around. I think they are seeing some links. Like there's a guy who I had on my Gamergate, BadgerPod Gamergate last Wednesday. This Wednesday that just passed. And his name is InQCell, and he knows about us. He talks about, he's interested in our topics, but he also is involved with, on some level. He says that he's involved with Mark Kern's new project. Mark Kern is Grums on Twitter. He's he is now the one of the biggest voices on Gamergate 2 that I think matter, like somebody who knows the industry. And apparently Grums has been, he's more based than he lets on, is what InQCell told
Well, he doesn't want to get hit by the algorithm, right?
No. I mean, but he's he's just kind of keeping it cool, but he doesn't really have to do this work, I guess. So, and I'm not saying that he does, but I think that there is like I said, I think that there's more going on, and it's a different climate this time, and I think people are waking up. So yeah. Well,
eventually, aren't people going to realize that the weapon is always the same?
Yeah. Well, some are willing to, and some are not, and I think it's because they themselves will have to look in the mirror and ask, was I a part of this problem? Right. Yeah.
Well, when you're forced to do something at the point of a gun, you have to recognize you're a coward. Particularly when essentially what's happening is the desperados walk into, I don't know, the tavern, the saloon, and the bartender hands them a gun and says, wouldn't it be a shame if you used that? Because we're all handing these people a gun with that narrative. Men oppress women and everything that comes out of it. Like you have no legitimacy. When you construct your thing and you're enjoying your thing with your friends and you're all thinging around, and then the desperados walk through the door and they say, wow, this is a really nice thing you got here. I don't think it serves women, though. Or if your thing is actually full of women, they'll walk in and they'll be like, this is a really nice thing you got here. I don't think it serves minorities. And then suddenly they appoint themselves as judge, jury, and executioner of your entire thing. And it's always the same thing over and over and over again. It'd be nice if they wake up and realize that the only way to stop this is to disarm them. And the only way to disarm them is to question the weapon that they use over and over and over again, to dismantle it, to take it away, to not give it to them in the first place, because it is bullshit. This idea that men oppress women is at its face bullshit. If they honestly did, and I actually got into a discussion. I talked to people on Wick's server. You remember Wick? We went on his show with.
Yeah, of course I remember Wick. I uploaded that stream to. I recorded that and I uploaded it on my channel. So if you guys want to check it out.
They're very they're very inculcated with this identifying threats and neutralizing them. So they have this junkyard dog mentality the men did. Very much about perimeter defense. They were very steeped in perimeter defense logic. So identify the enemy, neutralize it on that stream. And I forgot what I was going to say. Good Lord. I get into these tangents. I have too much attention deficit disorder. I should probably take like drugs or something so I can pay attention long enough to complete a thought. But I'm really sorry, guys. Where was I before I got onto? I'm sorry.
You were talking about the gun and the weapon.
Okay, yes. So. Yeah, the gun. You have to take away the gun. And, right. I was in the Discord talking to the audience of that show, or Wick's show, or some members of the audiences. And we were going back and forth about men oppressing women. So I said, okay, when did this start? And they couldn't give me a date. You know, we can tell when writing started. Sort of we can tell when pottery started, certain forms of technology, and certain ways of people, like informational technologies and social arrangements. But for some reason, we can't identify when patriarchy started. And honestly, it even goes back to hominids. It goes to our closest relatives. People say that bonobos are not patriarchal, but it doesn't matter. We're closer to chimps, and both of those split off of our common ancestor. So where did it start?
Yeah.
Like where and how did it start? No answer. So we just live in a world of dread, horrible sin that we have no idea when it started or how it started. So we have no idea how to actually stop it. It's just this vague wibbly wobbly. Well, how likely is that to actually be true then? Like, think about it.
It's a good question.
Vague. Yeah. How likely is it to be true? If it is something that actually started, it should be in the archaeological record. And it isn't, because even hunter-gatherers have a male chief most often. They have a separation between the sexes in their work. And generally the males, and in fact, hunter-gatherer societies can be a lot more violent and possessed with war. Because, to be fair, like hunter-gatherer societies, they need more space for what they're doing. In order to support a clan of hunter-gatherers, you need far more territory, which means there's much more territory conflict. Okay, so, and the men are the ones who are engaging in the territory conflict, right? So, you know, it's like this is something that seems to be pretty much most mammal species and our entire history. Okay, well, how do you plan to get rid of something? Like when they say patriarchal society, they're just basically saying society. Okay, well, how? If you don't know where it came from, you don't know how it came about, you are basically saying this is something that will exist forever unless you figure that out. All right, and I'm not buying into smashing something, swinging a hammer around and not knowing where it's going to hit. I mean, it's just too vague to be meaningful. Anyway, it was just something that occurred to me. It's all crazy. Like, it's all nonsense. Men don't oppress women. And I keep saying that over and over again because people need to hear someone saying that. Men do not oppress women. There is no society that treats women as more expendable than men. Right?
Yeah.
And you have to include that in your equation of oppression. Because if men are in charge and the outcome is worse for other men, that does not mean men in charge equals women oppressed. In fact, it's the opposite. So every issue that men face under quote unquote male authority is a counter evidence to the assertion that men in authority equals women oppressed. It doesn't. And I'm not even a person, not even.
Hello, Allison? Uh-oh, she dropped.
Oh, sorry.
You there?
I'm here.
Oh no, there goes. You're back. Yeah. You were
Not
saying?
even a person who, we should go back to like men as I don't want to make prescriptions on how people live their lives. I'm just pointing out that this is not correct. It's just not correct, and we can't have a society based on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. And then this is the weapon that they keep destroying everything with. I mean, I guess we can have a society based on it. After all, we've had it for 70 years, but
Yeah.
best by date, shall we say. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. I'm gonna do a patron show, so
Sure.
let me make sure there's no other super chats or super chows. Didn't get any.
It's a
I
slow
did
day.
a little bit, yeah. Well, it's a Friday. It's kind of late. A lot of our people in Europe are sleeping. So but yeah. Go ahead. You want to do the things?
Sure,
What are you
I'll do
doing?
the things. We are gonna. I'm thinking we'll do another Beat Saber fundraiser sort of thing on this Sunday. So join us for that. And if you would like to support the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. If you'd like to subscribe and get access to our archive and talking with us, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/subscribe. That's really critical. Like if you really want to help us out, the subscriptions really do that. And if you want to send us a message at any time after the show because you enjoy what we had to say, and just shout out to Richard Pierre because he's actually been trying to send us a super chow, but apparently everything's bork at the. So just keep trying. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if anybody else is out there who's desperately wanting to talk to us, to give us a comment, we will take those comments and we will respond to them at the next reasonable show, like reasonably on topic show. All right, so back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, we're going to be heading into the patron show. So if you want to join us, become a member by going
What
to
is the
Feed
patron
the.
show on?
I'm going to be looking at this article from That Park Place just as a promotion, since we were talking a little bit about Gamergate 2. I'll share the tab and show it to the audience too.
Okay.
About
thank you. I
Mark
don't see it, so-
Kern. You don't see it? Okay. Well,
Just tell me
games
about it.
journalist Ryan Easby is calling for violence against former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern. So Mark Kern is Grums on Twitter, and there are journalists that want to destroy his life because he is making sense and he's not putting up with their shit. And so this is the thing, like if you're going to speak out against these people, you're going to have to be courageous because they are going to try to destroy your life. And so we're going to be looking at this article and just kind of talking about stuff. I have some cool stuff I want to share with the patrons.
You know what
that-
occurs to me?
What?
Okay. What occurs to me, right? If you recognize that the problem is the gun, then you have to actually deal with it instead of continuing to try to reason with the gun woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scarier. That's honestly scarier. It's a lot scarier because you can get killed. All right, continue, Brian.
All right. So anyway, if you want to join us, you have to become a member by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe, and you'll be able to hang out with us in the Nerdcast voice chat. I think I'm going to be in the Nerdcast chat since this is like a nerdy topic. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you there, and you'll be able to watch the video just like you're watching this one. And if you give it higher levels, you can even be a part of the discussion itself. You can join us in the voice chat and give us your thoughts. So yeah, feel free to do that, and we're gonna go from there. So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. There are links to the threads in the description, and please share this video because sharing is caring. Thanks so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.